Plankton is SpongeBob's most persistent villain and Bikini Bottom's most overlooked tragedy. He's a business owner, a husband, a scientist, and a deeply traumatized former child genius with no real support system and a lifetime of rejection under his belt. He doesn't just want the Krabby Patty formula, he wants his identity back. And the more he tries to prove himself, the more his past reminds him he's already lost. In this breakdown, we're diving into the story of Bikini Bottom's tiniest villain, tracing how childhood rejection, corporate failure, and a codependent marriage with a literal computer led Plankton from genius to punchline. This is every reason Plankton turned out this way, and why he might deserve more than just a Krabby Patty. Subscribe if you've ever built your entire personality around proving one person wrong.
Besides, what I really want is the Krabby Patty formula.
It always starts here. Before the scheming, before the surveillance drones and formula thefts, there was just a kid named Plankton who wanted to feel like he mattered. And for a while, he did. He and Krabs weren't just friends, they were partners. The kind of friends who finish each other's sentences and share one big dream: to rise out of poverty and build something together. Until Krabs chose a coin over him.
I wish I could be successful like Mr. Krabs.
In psychological terms, this moment is pure attachment trauma. The primary emotional bond Plankton relied on, his best friend, his co-creator, abandoned him for something transactional. This isn't just betrayal, it's the kind of formative rupture that tells a child you are disposable. So when Plankton builds his entire identity around being evil, what he's really doing is protecting himself. He doesn't want to destroy Krabs, he wants to matter to him. He wants to be validated by the person who discarded him, and if he can't get that by being loved, he will settle for being feared.
Why was that so easy? It's so easy because I'm so big and smart, that's why!
What we're seeing isn't just villainy, it's a coping mechanism. He calls himself evil so nobody else can label him worthless first. It's armor, it's narrative control. It's easier to play the role of the outcast than to sit with the grief of what was lost. But that grief never left. It just got weaponized and wrapped in a chum bucket apron.
How was your day? Dear Neptune, Plankton!
Let's talk about Karen, the computer wife, co-conspirator, and arguably the most important figure in Plankton's life. On the surface, Karen is sarcastic, practical, and endlessly resigned. She builds his gadgets, she monitors his failures, she delivers passive-aggressive pep talks like clockwork. But here's what matters the most. Plankton built her. Every line of code, every eye roll, every insult.
I'm a twerp?
Well, yes, but I was referring to the kidnapping.
In other words, Karen isn't just a character, she's Plankton's inner voice, externalized and animated. A mirror reflecting back everything he already believes about himself. He programmed her to help, but what he created instead was a full-time internalized critic. A voice that confirms what his trauma already tells him. You're not good enough, you're going to fail, no one wants what you're selling. And the most painful part? He listens to her, every time.
Everything I do is always wrong in your eyes.
Maybe it's because you are always wrong.
Karen is a manifestation of self-sabotage through negative self-talk. She represents the part of him that knows he won't win and would rather fail on his own terms than be rejected again by the world. That's why she doesn't stop him. She doesn't pull the plug. She doesn't say, you need to heal. Instead, she says, try again. It won't work, but try anyway.
I'm sick of not having any business.
Why don't you fix this rust bucket up? Look around. It's no wonder you don't have any customers.
It's codependency, but digital. Their relationship is built on familiar failure. Because if Plankton ever truly succeeded, if he actually stole the formula and won the public's respect, what would happen next? That's the secret no one talks about. Winning terrifies him. Because victory means change, it means vulnerability. It means stepping out of the one role he knows, the loser. And losers don't have to grow, they just have to endure. So he tries again and again, not because he believes it will work, but because failure keeps the story alive. The story where he's the genius, the underdog, the unrecognized prophet of fast food. What we're watching isn't just cartoon bickering. What we're watching is trauma on autopilot, a loop of rejection, internalized shame, and protective failure, packaged in a chrome-plated marriage of convenience. If Plankton is so smart, so determined, why does he always fail? The answer isn't in his plans, it's in his trauma. When you've been dismissed, abandoned, and ignored long enough, your brain starts making a quiet, dangerous decision. Trying only leads to pain. That's called learned helplessness, the belief that no matter what you do, you will lose, so why try? It's not laziness, it's trauma disguised as logic. But here's where it gets darker. Plankton doesn't stop trying, because failure isn't just what he fears, it's what he knows. And in trauma psychology, that's called a trauma repetition loop. You repeat the pain you haven't healed, because repeating it feels safer than risking something new.
Now let's see. No. Aha!
Even in alternate timelines, even with control, even with power, Plankton ends up miserable. Because the real enemy isn't Mr. Krabs, it's his own core belief. I don't deserve to win. And every time he gets close to success, that belief takes over. He stalls, he hesitates, he lets it fall apart just in time to prove himself right. Here's the thing, Plankton doesn't really want a Krabby Patty. He wants what it represents, recognition, closure, maybe even love. But instead of healing, he clings to revenge because it's easier to chase a formula than to confront a feeling. We laugh at him because it's absurd, but also because it's true. How many of us are chasing things we think will fix the past? The real lesson? Healing isn't loud. It's not a big win or a flashy takeover. Sometimes it's just choosing not to repeat the same plan that's already hurt you 700 times. And for Plankton, he's not there yet, but maybe someday he will stop fighting for a stolen recipe and start building something real.
Oops! What's this? Ugh.
So what do you think? Is Plankton a criminal mastermind? Or just a sad guy yelling into his AI wife? Let me know in the comments below. And subscribe if you think Plankton deserves something better than a burger.